Welcome to the Michael Singer podcast, presented by Sounds True, in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information about Michael Singer's work, access to all prior episodes, and information about upcoming releases, we invite you to join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com.
Jagrative, Jai Masters. There's a topic that people get very confused about, and that is spiritual evolution. Biological evolution is what Darwin was into. It's silly to say that it's against the Bible, it's against religion, it's against God. It gives tribute to the divine force to say, instead of saying, poof, there's a man, poof, there's a woman, to say, here's a chromosome. I'll make a few of them. And they're so amazing because I made them that I'll step back and watch them make a man and a woman. I wonder which is greater. Okay? That's what we understand when we look at physics. That the world is not here the way you see it, period. That's not a spiritual statement. That's an absolute truth. They've gone way past the molecules, past the atoms, past electron, neutron, protons, all the way down to this thing called a quantum field. It's just a field. There are no particles. It's just a field. And the field can become agitated or activated, just like the ocean can be still, or a lake, and something drops into it and makes waves. So this field can make wavelets, little wavelets. And if you study quantum physics and get the basic idea of where they've gotten in all the physics, doesn't matter what nationality they are, they've all gotten there. They generally understood standard model that there's these wavelets. And the wavelets, I'm not going to say are so intelligent, but whatever's making the wavelets, I don't want to talk about it, because they've noticed that those wavelets, when they're there, they, of course, come and go, like wavelets in an ocean. But when they're there, they have properties. The properties manifest as forces like electromagnetism or gravity or strong and weak nuclear forces. It's a property of the wavelet. And when those wavelets interact with each other, they make electrons, neutrons, and protons. Like protons and neutrons are combinations of the properties of those wavelets. They don't really exist no more than light exists as particles or form. And our scientists now know, it's amazing, the minds are so brilliant, how to take that wavelet and build what you see every day. That's what's really going on right now, is there's just wavelets down there. They're being put together into electrons and protons and atoms and molecules, and your eyes, which are made of the wavelets, average it out. And that's called God's Leela, God's sport that was talked about in the ancient Upanishads. The force that created that field and that emanates those wavelets, how can you talk about it? Just look at the flowers, look at the trees. There's nothing there. Science will show you. It's just these wavelets. By the way, they say that field is omnipresent. All galaxies and black holes and everything everywhere emanate from that field. As it's emanating and putting itself together, not due to human intelligence, somehow, through cause and effect, through random, I don't care, it made your body. It wasn't here before. There weren't animals, there weren't bodies. Those things put themselves together and then evolved. Did they evolve by natural selection? Sure. What difference does it make? Natural selection is a natural force that comes from the wavelets. You haven't added human intelligence to any of it. So your eyeballs, your kidneys, your pancreas, your pineal gland, they're all made themselves out of those wavelets. Oh my God. And you're tell me that takes away the power of God? Are you crazy? That's unbelievable. And it should be unbelievable, because it is unbelievable. And the fact that that's going on every single planet, on every single star, every single galaxy throughout the entire universe, and always has and made the universe, okay, That can be my God. I don't know what you want yours to be. But mine doesn't have blonde or black hair and a beard. Nor does he reach out from the Sistine Chapel to touch your finger. He is the finger. He is the chapel. He is the entire universe. And that's that. Okay. Now what happens, that force, that those wavelets, and then the properties that build form, that's where all the form comes from, and all the force that hold form together, all of it they understand, it's not alive. They would like to tell you, because they don't understand, they haven't gotten anywhere, that if it makes nerve cells, which again come from that field, if it makes nerve cells and they just get so complicated, the neurons just bind themselves together enough, all of a sudden they become consciousness. They're welcome to say that. They don't have any idea. There's no proof. There's nothing. They just say, it must be that way. Okay? It must be that's what's happening. Whereas the yogis, I'm going to talk about spiritual evolution, but I have to get there. The yogis didn't study all that stuff outside. They didn't build the microscopes and the this and the that and instruments that could measure everything, giant cyclotrons that could break everything apart. No. They did something very interesting. They went into the caves. What are you going to learn from a cave? What a stupid person went to a cave. They went into the caves, the ancient rishis. There's supposed to be 7 ancient rishis. Thousands of years ago. Went into the caves because they didn't care so much about what made the outside world. They wanted to know who they were inside. There's a conscious being inside that's aware that there's an outside world. Which do you want to know about? The outside world you're aware of, or you that's aware of it? Subject, object. There's tons and tons and tons of objects. There's men and women, there's dark and there's light and there's animals. Oh my God, there's billions and billions and billions and billions and trillions of objects. Only one subject. If I show you 1,000 things, it's the same you who sees them. Same consciousness, same awareness of being is aware of what you're aware of. When you looked in the mirror yesterday, did you see a reflection of your body? Is the same you who sees it today? When you looked 10 years ago, 20 years ago, the body looked the same? No. Did you see it? You've been there the whole time. You're just looking at different things. Do you have thoughts? Do you have thoughts? Spirituality is so easy if you just pay attention. Do you have thoughts? How do you know? I don't believe you. How do you know you have thoughts? Well, because I hear them, I see them, I'm in here. How's that for an answer? I don't care whether you believe it or not. I'm in here. The very fact that I heard you ask me whether I'm in here means I'm in here. Okay? How long have you been in there? Were you in there yesterday? You're in there 5 minutes ago? You're in there. Who's in there? That's the difference. The Western world studied what you're aware of. The ancient great sages studied who's aware. What is awareness? Now, how are you going to study awareness? Not with a microscope, because it's awareness that's looking through the microscope. You can't see yourself that way. You're looking away from yourself. So they learned this thing called meditation. The ancient rishis did. And so they went into the caves, they sat down, and they said, all right, if I get distracted by the outside world, then I'm not studying me, I'm studying the outside world. So I have to learn not to get distracted by the outside world. How do you do that? Have you ever gotten distracted and brought your consciousness, your awareness back to what you were doing? Yes or no? Oh, so you got some control in there of where your awareness goes. I should have started by asking you, have you ever gotten distracted? What does that mean? It means your awareness, your consciousness was aware of what you were doing, maybe thoughts. You were doing some math in your head, you were thinking, okay? You were aware of your thoughts. Then you heard a noise, like a little ding ding, and all of a sudden you got distracted. So your consciousness got drawn to something other than where it was. It's the same consciousness. And you have the ability to bring it back, do you not? You have the ability to watch it get distracted, do you not? You can bring it back right away. You can have it not get distracted. How do you have it not get distracted? You do this thing called concentrate. You concentrate. What does that mean? What you do is take consciousness and focus it willfully. You focus it on a spot and you don't let it move off. So you literally have the ability to work with your consciousness. Okay? All right. So the yogis went into the caves and they said, all right, it's dark, there's nothing to see. I don't have to worry about my senses. I'm not getting distracted by my senses. but I got these thoughts. Well, while I'm distracted by my thoughts, I'm paying attention to the thoughts, not to who's experiencing the thoughts. So they came up with all these techniques of how to quiet the mind. That's all it is. That's all meditation is. I mean, we're not there yet, but that's a basis for meditation. Learn to quiet the mind. If you can't quiet the mind, you might as well stay outside because you're going to be in your mind. You're still not going to study consciousness. You're going to study what you're conscious of. But now you're not conscious of the outside world. You're conscious of your mind, of your thoughts. Do you get distracted by your emotions? Does anybody get distracted by their emotions ever? Ha, 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 that's really funny. Doesn't take much, does it? Okay, and all of a sudden there's anger, and there's this, and there's love, and there's, I don't care what it is. There's stuff going on that draws your consciousness to it. Can you rise above that? So this becomes that process of going into a quiet spot and learning to, not so much, that's how you'll learn. It's not about quieting your mind. It is not about stopping your thoughts. It's not about stopping your mind. It's about not getting distracted by it. In my early years of meditation, and I just got into it very heavy right in the beginning, just meditate 6 hours a day. I do not do that anymore, but I did. I thought it was all about stopping the noise inside, stopping that. Therefore, my consciousness was busy stopping it. Could I stop it? Yes. Did it come right back? Yes. Did I have to struggle to stop it? Yes. And so that wasn't deep enough. The key is not stopping the mind or the emotions. The key is not getting distracted by. If my consciousness is not distracted by the fact that there are thoughts, you don't get distracted by all kinds of things. There's cars driving by. There's, clouds going by. There's people going by. They don't always distract you. You go about your business. So if you're not distracted by the thoughts, you're not distracted by the emotions, that's deeper. The funny part about it is, and this is deep, if you're not distracted by them, they stop. Why? They always use the example as a perfect example. I got a still lake. I really like the still lake. A leaf drops in the lake. Oh my God, it's not still anymore. There's all these ripples going on. I don't want the ripples. I want it to stop. I need to do something to stop the ripples, so I'll jump in the lake. Doesn't think it work too good. I'll iron them out with my hand. I don't think it worked too good. All right? If I'm not distracted by them and I'm okay with them, they go away by themselves. In other words, I was causing them by participating in them, by resisting them, by clinging to them. I made the thoughts be there. Why? I've touched this a million times. Why does that voice talk so much? And I know what it talks about. It talks about what you like, what you don't like, how to get it, and how to avoid it. That's the vast majority of what that mind is talking about. Why is it doing that? Because when you had experiences, natural experiences, they came into your mind, and you in there, the conscious being, said, not on my watch. I don't like this experience. And so you use, just like the leaf and the ripples, you use your will, you concentrate your consciousness to push away the experience inside. It's called suppression, repression, denial, or resistance. I just call it resistance. Have you ever resisted the fact that something happened? I'm going to get this straight. Make sure I have the right audience. Do you still have any stuff in there from a long time ago? Can it still bother you? Well, I want to ask you a question. What's it doing in there? Is it still happening? Are your parents still doing what they did? Are your first boyfriend still doing what they did? It's still happening from 20 years ago? Then why is it in there? Because you held it in there, didn't you? You don't realize that. If you resist it, it stays in there because you pushed it away. It stays there, like damming up water. It's still trying to get through. So the psychology is not complicated. There it is. Your consciousness pushed it away. That's an important point when we talk about evolution. So it pushed it away, so it stayed in there, and it's trying to get out. It's trying to continue its journey through the universe. It really is. That's why it comes up in your dreams. It comes up when you see something that reminds you of it. It's just needing to go, and you won't let it. Let's say something really bad happened when you were young, and you didn't like it very, very much. What happens when it comes back up? You push it back down. You keep it in there. You're literally willfully keeping it in there. I have a good idea. Let's take what bothers us the most, keep it in there so it can keep bothering us. Wow, what a brilliant idea. Do you or do not do that? Okay, so the yogis went in there and they realized that if you do different techniques and you don't get distracted by it, if you get distracted by it and then try to push it away, it's coming right back. You may be able to experience something for a moment. Doesn't impress me. Oh my God, I did this drug, or I did this, or I meditated for 6 months in a row without eating, and I had this experience. Oh my God, I touched this beautiful place. Why are you talking about it in the past tense? Because your stuff is still there. I'm not the first one to teach this. Ramakrishna, the great masters, used to teach this as follows, right? Here's some scars that we're talking about, some scars, stuff you stored in there. If you go down to get in the Ganges, because Ganges is a very holy river, you know that. They're taught if you bathe in the Ganges, all your some scars get washed off. And the masters have been taught that. So the others teach, they say, yes, it's true. It's true that Ganges is as holy as could be. If you get in the Ganges and wash, all your some scars get washed off. The trouble is, before you go in, they jump off of you onto a tree branch. And when you come back out, they jump back on. All right? So it is not about stopping your mind. It is not about suppressing your emotions. It is about not getting distracted by them. I swear to you, for 50 years I've done this. It's about consciousness not being distracted by your thoughts and not being distracted by your emotions. But I'll tell you a secret. If your thoughts and your emotions are being generated by the stuff you stored in there that you didn't like, you're going to get distracted by it. You stored the worst things that distract you more than anything. You didn't get along with your sister, and you see her number on your phone when it rings. Hey, I don't see anything. It don't bother me at all. You're the one who's carried the stuff in there. It distracts you. You know what else distracts you? Things that you really, really, really liked and you want to happen again. Even the thought of them distracts you. If anything reminds you of them, it distracts you. So you stored these trigger points inside because the things you didn't like, things you did like. So you are constantly getting distracted. And you're getting so distracted, especially by the things you didn't like, but really both. It's called positive and negative scars. You're being so distracted by them that you devote your life to them. You devote your life to living in a place, hanging out with people, reading books, watching movies that don't hit your stuff. Which one do you want to go to a movie that shows you a movie of everything you hated in life? No, you're not going to do that. So you literally adjust your life, make your friends. Who are your friends? The people that don't hit my stuff. Who are your enemies? The people who do. Okay, it's just very straightforward. So you allow yourself to keep this stuff in there and then try to create a world outside of you that doesn't bother you. That's so silly. I can't even talk about it anymore. Why don't you just stop storing that stuff in there? Then it won't bother you. You have to do anything. Neutralize inside. Then you won't have that garbage distracting you. That's yoga. That's the deep teaching. Purify. That's what purification means. It doesn't mean what you eat, what you wear, what mantras you say. That's all wonderful. By all means, do it. It means get rid of that stuff you stored in there. That's what purification is. How do you get rid of it? Stop pushing it back down. Well, how do I know where it is? It will let you know. How do I know if it's the right time? It will let you know. The path is so different than what you're taught. Every day of your life, your stuff's getting hit. Not major necessarily. Somebody doesn't say hello. Somebody talks to somebody else. Somebody is wearing your dress that you wore that you thought was only yours. Who knows? Some people are talking over there. Somebody you like, and they're talking to somebody you don't like. And, oh my God, are they talking about me? Like, you got all the junk in there. Come on, you're blushing. You did that. You did that. The person next to you, not being bothered by any of it. You stored stuff in there from the past that makes you be bothered and therefore distracts your consciousness, and therefore you devote your life to rearranging the world, to try and make it work for you. All right? They got smart, these great masters. They looked at that and said, why don't I just not store it? If I don't store it, it won't be in there. If it's not in there, it will distract me. Okay, fine. How do you not store it? That's the most amazing part that the great ones learn over years. It will come up by itself. And you know it will, and it does. But you push it back down. How about we learn to not? That's the great secret. You can use a therapist. That's fine. I'm in favor of everything, whatever technique you want to use. But I tell you a secret. It will come up by itself. The question is, are you willing to let it go? You didn't let it go when it happened, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 5 minutes ago, I don't care. Can you let it go now? That's why I teach what I teach you. That's called letting go. You learn to let go. All right, so the great ones went into caves and they let go of the stuff. That's why sannyas, they renounce the world. They don't have the same name. They don't go home. You understand that? They try to live a life that doesn't remind them of their past. Okay? You don't have to, it's hard not to do that. I'm sorry. It's hard to be able to be at home and be with your family and be with this and be at work and not have stuff. Hit your stuff because you have no stuff. That's a truly great being. Someone that can be anywhere at any time with anything going on and they're untouched because there's nothing in there to touch. Okay, so you're sitting in a cave, you let go whatever you possibly can, and now your mind quiets down. Why? Because you're not in there stopping it. You're not touching it. You learn to let it go. The great ones have to learn to let it go. They can't push it down because it's coming right back up. All right? So eventually, you let it go. Let it go. Anything needs to come up, it comes up, you let it go. Can you do that? Can you neutralize the stuff? Fine, mommy did this. I got no problem with it. Okay? And next thing you know, it doesn't bother you anymore. So if you stop touching it, you stop sticking your hands down to it, next thing you know, it's not drawing you down into it. So what do they find next? Which is just amazing. If they're not drawn down, what's not drawing down? Their consciousness, their awareness of being. What happens to it? It stays in the seat of awareness. Why? Because it's not being drawn out. If I'm sitting here in this chair and none of you are freaking me out or making me do anything, I can sit in the chair and be here and you can be there. All right? But if somehow you remind me of something or you attract me or repulse me, or all of a sudden I can't. I can sit here. I have to not look at you and look at you. You attracted my consciousness to make me stare at you or stare at the picture on the wall. So if I'm neutral, then I get to remain in the seat of consciousness. That's what it's called. The seat. We're going to go higher than that, by the way. That's not even high. That's witness consciousness. That's what they call mindfulness. I don't know why they call it mindfulness, because this is mindlessness. So you are sitting there in the seat of consciousness, not because you used will to do so, but because nothing's drawing you out. There is a time for using will. That is, you willfully let go of what you willfully shoved down there. Okay? There's no one else in there. If anything's a mess in there, you did it. You didn't do the outside situation that was difficult to deal with. I'm not saying that. But the fact that you stored it, only you are in there that could do that. And no one else in there. That's a single occupancy apartment when you live in there. So you shoved it away. That was a willful act, believe it or not. There's a willful act, isn't it? You struggle, you push it, fight with it, don't you? You push it away willfully. Now you have to willfully let it go. So Master used to teach will all the time. Yes. In the early parts of your path, will is the most important thing you deal with. Because otherwise, it's just going to do it by itself. It's just a habit. Okay? I don't like what you're saying, you walk away. I like what you're saying, you walk toward it. It's just, bam, it's instinctual. But when you start catching on that you shoved that down there, and that wasn't so smart, and that's why your mind's so noisy, why your emotions are such a mess, and why you have to have the world be exactly what you need it to be for you to be okay, all right? Because otherwise it bothers you or turns you on. You did that. Why do you like one thing and she doesn't like at all what you like? Why did you like something yesterday, now you hate it? Because you learned these experiences. You had experiences that caused you to store different stuff in there. Yes or no? Have you ever loved somebody tremendously and decided you don't like them at all and you just can't stand looking at them? Of course you have. What happened? One more experience came in and you didn't handle it well. You stored it. You can get yourself sick, messed up, without anything actually happening. You can be in a relationship, they're good for learning stuff. You be in a relationship and somebody doesn't come home on time a couple of nights in a row. And maybe they hired a new secretary who was good looking. You notice that. And your mind says, I know what's going on. He'll never tell me, but I know what's going on. I'm not even going to ask him because I know he'll lie to me. That'll make it worse, right? You just ruined your relationship all by yourself. Congratulations. Truth is, he was out at the travel agent arranging for a 10th anniversary major trip that he's going to make a big deal about it. And of course, he didn't tell you anything. You'll never find that out. And plus, you won't believe him when he says that's where he was. So you can make a mess in there. And you did, didn't you? Okay, you made a raw mess in there. So you got all this stuff going on. You willfully let it go. That's your path. That's a major, real growth. You let it go. It comes up, you let it go. You learn. I always teach you that. I know you don't know how to do it now. People say, I don't know how to do that. I've always been like this. You don't know how to play tennis either. You don't know how to play the piano either. You learn. I don't know why people don't think they can learn inner stuff. They sort of, no, it's just who I am. I've always been this way. I'm just a jealous person. I get angry really easy. It's just the way I am. I've always been that way. Well, okay. When you pick up a tennis racket, it goes in the net. I can't play. You can learn. You can learn to let go. You can learn to not shove it back down. You can learn. You just start with simpler things, easier things. You learn to handle those. You have hands in there. Sit on them. Don't use them to push stuff around. And little by little, you'll find you can do more and more. All right. Now, what is the purpose of this talk? We're talking about evolution. Although this is evolution, by the way. All right. Spiritual evolution. All right. So now what happens? When it doesn't distract you, but the only way it's not going to distract you, you let it go. If there's one thing, that you don't let go of, you will never get to God. One thing, because it will distract you. And it isn't what distracted you. Oh, it's evil, it's good. No. It's the fact that you got distracted. And if you're distracted, you're not in the seat of consciousness because you're pulled away from the seat of consciousness. The object of consciousness has drawn your attention down to it. I'm fine except for snakes. I can't handle snakes. No, come on. Listen to me. I can handle every single thing in creation, but I can't handle snakes. Guess what? You're not going anywhere else. Why? Because you will be afraid of snakes when they're not there. You want to go for a walk in the woods? No. Why? It's really pretty. It's okay. I don't want to go. Want to go to the zoo? Do they have a reptile exhibit or whatever it's called? Yes. No, I don't want to go. You want to go visit my house? I just had a baby. No, I don't do well with rattles. You want to learn how to tie knots? Do you need a rope? Yeah, they remind me. Everything will remind you of a snake. All it takes is one samskara, and you will fixate on it. And so you have to learn to let go. Fine, so they're in the cave, and they're letting go. Now make believe, can you imagine what it would be like to not have stuff in there? It doesn't mean you leave the world. It doesn't mean you deny anything. It just means the world can come in and pass right through you. It's all the same. It's all the same. That's what the Gita says. That the great one, I won't do the whole thing, I always quote it. There's a beautiful passage in the Gita that says, the great master is as such. All the rivers and streams of the world pour into the ocean. If the ocean doesn't overstep its bounds, so the world of sense pours into the yogi and leaves him as it found him, at peace, serene, content. Equanimity is yoga. If it can come in and pass through, it doesn't distract you. If it doesn't distract you, you remain naturally. No will. The will is the early part. You have to undo the mess you made with your will by using will. Like breaking a habit. It takes will. But when you're done with the habit, how much will does it take? Nothing, right? I don't drink anymore. How hard is that? It was hard at first, but it's not hard at all now, right? So if you're done, that's called being done. If you're done, then you're done. It doesn't draw your consciousness down. You're capable of that state, and the great ones went to that state. I don't want you to think they stopped their mind. They renounced everything. They let go. Let go. All right? Now, when you let go, you don't get distracted. You don't get distracted. You stay where you are, in the seat of consciousness. You don't get distracted from the seat of consciousness. Now you're seated in the seat of consciousness. What happens then? You will come to know, because I know you will all practice this, eventually you will come to know that from the seat of consciousness, instead of a force pulling you down, distraction, it's pulling you out of your seat of consciousness. Distraction does that, distracts you. If you're not being distracted, you're going to find out for yourself that there's a force pulling you up. The same strength that pulls you down is like a vacuum cleaner pulling your consciousness up. And you'll find out you can't let go. Why? You've let go of your thoughts. You let go of your emotion. You let go of your body. You let go of everything outside. But you are still there. Your individuality, a sense of separateness. I am the separate soul. I am that I am. I'm here, okay? This is pulling you up, saying, cease to be separate. Cease to be a separate being. And that's called dying to be reborn. That literally, it is not easy to let go of yourself. Letting go of what you're looking at, that's child's play. Letting go of your sense of self, that's where panic happens, right? And so it starts to pull you up, and you have to, that's the next stage of your journey. It's the ascent. It's called the ascent. It's real, all right? And you start feeling the Shakti, this energy pulling you up. And little by little, you learn to let go. And the great ones, whose pictures hang on the wall, if you do it, you come visit me. We have a little space over there on the wall, all right? The great ones, go read, and you're going to autobiography of a yogi. He has a chapter called My Experience in Cosmic Consciousness. That's a wonderful place to read it. So he had not reached that state yet, and now all of a sudden, his guru touched him, blessed him, and he went out. In other words, he broke that barrier of not being willing to let go. He completely let go. He died to be reborn. And what happened? The consciousness no longer stayed in the seat of consciousness. It returned to the source of consciousness. That's a whole different ballgame. Where did consciousness come from? Now we know where form comes from. Where did consciousness come from? And that's my Father and I are one. There's Christ again. The kingdom is within you. The source of your awareness that's looking out through his eyes is at this very moment merged with the entire universe. Not just merged with the entire universe, is the source of the quantum field. It all came from you. You are the divine one descended. You are the greatest thing that ever walked the face of the earth. Not your body, not your thoughts, not your ego, the one who notices, and not while you're noticing. All right? It just merges first with the universe. That's called Sabhikalpa Samadhi, where the whole universe, the entire universe is your body. Your consciousness identifies with all the galaxies, just like it identifies with your body, right? Because it has no boundaries. And then there's a state beyond that, called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where the form falls off. You're no longer even conscious, even holding on to the concept of form. And you go into the great void, you go into nirvana, you go into beyond, the non-dual. In yoga, they call it Brahma. You know, there's Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, right? I'm not into the different gods and goddesses and all that stuff, right? But I know the teachings, all right? Brahma is the formless one. Like in India, there are no temples for Brahma. That's what Mataji Yoga Shakti taught us. There are no temples for Brahma because the temple is form, and Brahma is the formless. Brahma is the absolute before creation. So they let that, it gives you chills, that they know about this stuff. They know about this stuff. Why? That's what yoga is. Yoga means union, merger. The great ones who went into those caves, that's what they came back with. Not microscopes or telescopes or atom smashers or instruments. They came back with the greatest wisdom that's ever been known, collected from the beginning of time of all of humanity. That's what yoga is. They merged with the universe and they laid a path down of how to do that. And we kind of talked about it. That's the wisdom of the deep inner teachings, Zen, Buddhism, the deep stuff. It's about merger. Good. So I started the conversation by talking about spiritual evolution. I hope you've caught on now. That is spiritual evolution. From you in there, who happens to be the highest thing in the world. Like, it is not about going back to God. It is not about going back to God. It is about ceasing to leave. And that's a big difference. Okay? If I'm staring at that picture and I'm fixated on it, I don't have to come back to myself. I have to stop leaving. I'm still here, right? I just projected my consciousness onto something that I'm not, all right? I'm still here. The sun is still in the sky, space, even though it emanates its rays that fall on the earth. Your consciousness right now is merged with the infinite. You're the highest thing that ever walked the face of the earth. You are the creator of all things. They teach you that, and I don't like that they teach you that. Some people walk around saying, I'm God. No, I don't think so. Not that part. Not that part of you is not. I create my universe. No, that's the ego talking. That's still the I. It's ridiculous. You have to let go of all of it. then yes, it's true. Yes, it is true. Your spirit descended. What is spiritual evolution? That journey. The journey from the finite to the infinite. The journey from I am a human being with a body and thoughts and an ego to I am that I am. They asked Meher Baba, who are you? Meher Baba was as high as they come. He said, I was in the beginning, before all else was created. I will be in the end, after all else falls away. There was never a time I was not, and there will never be a time I will not be. That's enlightenment. So don't walk around saying you're enlightened. You're welcome to say you had an enlightening experience. That's nice, but you're not enlightened. So basically, the journey from the finite, from it's not even from, the journey from where you're staring at this tiny little stupid little thing. People don't like when I say that about them. You should like it a lot. It takes the burden off. There's 8.3 billion of these bodies. Billion. Go sit in a corner and count to 8.3 billion. Don't bother coming back. Okay? There's 8.3 billion of these things that you call your body, all very similar, arms and legs, that are hanging around the earth now. How many have been here? I don't want to talk about it. Okay? So there's 8.3 billion of them, and you want to be special. And what wants to be special? My ego. What's an ego? You had these experiences. You're in here. You got lost in your experiences. You defined yourself as the experiences you had. I'm the person that went to here. I'm married. This is my husband. This is my wife. These are my children. I, me, mine. I, me, mine. I, me, mine. Your ego is your mental definition of yourself. This is who I am. It is not who you are. You can watch the things say that, can't you? Just have something here. Tell them, that's my husband. Have someone walk up and say, that's not your husband. That's my husband. Let's see what happens inside. I want to see. Okay? It'll be very interesting, won't it? And you will notice that it's going on. You're not any of the things you look at. You are not the experiences you had. You're the ones who had it. You had an experience. How would you define yourself by the experience you had? But you didn't have the experience. You don't exist. That's crazy. Mostly terrible things. Let's say you're a woman and you're a woman or a husband, both. You want to have a child. You can't have a child. There are people who define themselves for the rest of their life as a person that can't have a child. I'm not taking away compassion. I'm not taking away the difficulty of learning to transcend your humanness, okay? But I am picking on the fact that you would define yourself as that when you're God. Looking at that, you made yourself so small. But if I sit there and say, there's nothing, your experiences are nothing. The same time you're having an experience, how many are you missing? I always ask you that, but I never see you can handle my question. At the same time you're having the experience you're having, how many experiences are you not having that are happening elsewhere? That's pretty funny, isn't it? Therefore, your experience is meaningless. It's statistically insignificant. Yes or no? If you were looking the other way, you would have a different experience. It's some random thing. You happen to be standing there at that moment when something happened, but you couldn't handle it. And the fact that you couldn't handle it means you stored it. The fact that you stored it means you stare at it. The fact that you stare at it means you identify yourself as that. Okay? Instead of identifying yourself as the one who had the experience, you identify yourself as the experience. Does anyone get that? Are you not the one that had the experience? Would you not be there even if the experience didn't happen? You're the same being. No, I'm not the same. Yes, you are. You're just staring at something different. It's the same. So at this point, you're staring at one body, and then you build this mind. You have a mind, but you build this pattern called your ego. Then you stare at that. And then it causes emotion. Then you stare at those. That is what is called the fall from the garden. You're sitting there in the absolute state of oneness with God, looking at creation. Good. Enjoy it. You made it. Have fun. Like an artist looking at their artwork. It's beautiful. It turns you on. Okay? But you looked a little too close, didn't you? You looked so close that you identified with what you were looking at. You're staring at your ego, and therefore you think you're your ego. What does psychology call your ego? Your self-concept. What's a concept? Something you make up in your mind. Your ego is something you made up to define yourself. Who are you? The one who's noticed that you made it up. When people don't match your ego, you notice it gets weird in there. Why do you go to your psychiatrist and you say, oh my God, ever since he said that to me, I haven't been the same. I've been bothered. What your psychiatrist say to you is, how do you know? That's what I would ask you. How do you know? How do I know what? That he said it? No. How do you know that you're bothered? Well, how do you know you're bothered? Because I'm in here and I see it. Oh, namaste. Right? Okay, you're in there. Good. All right. So spiritual evolution is going from where you are now, this human who is trying to make yourself look special. You're so special. It's incomprehensible. You are literally spirit descended into its creation. That's what you are right now. I always teach, you are literally God's emissary, ambassador to the moment that's unfolding in front of you. What does that mean? God created heaven and earth. What did? Consciousness. Consciousness. God is consciousness. Absolute, universal, eternal, infinite consciousness. That's what the quantum field will turn out to be. Consciousness. All right? He created the universe. Why? Somebody asked Mayor Baba, why did God create the universe? He said, on a whim. On a whim. Let's say a great dancer is dancing. Just here she is, beautiful dancing. And then he asks, why did you move your hand that way? She has no idea. It was just on a whim. It's just expression. I expressed myself. Every aspect of myself. The light, the dark, the good, the bad, the small, the high, every single thing. Yin and yang. I created the whole universe. Why? Just to express myself. All right? Now that it's created, why would I create it and never look at it? I want to experience it. I'm still the consciousness, and it's like a dream. You created your dream and you look at it. So I created it, now I want to dance in it. It's called God's Leela. It's sport. That's what they call it in India. God's Leela, all right? God's dance, God's sport. So the consciousness wants to experience what he created. That's beautiful. What a wonderful thing. How does it do that? It comes down, it radiates its consciousness down into creation. And then it experiences the moment in front of what? In front of you. Because you're it. You are one ray of that consciousness experiencing the moment that's unfolding in front of you. Who else is experiencing the moment that's unfolding in front of you? Nobody. Nobody sees exactly what you see right now. Do you know that? You're at a different angle. Nobody has seen what you have seen in your life. Not nobody now, nobody ever, because it never existed before. Want to be special? You're pretty special. You descended down to experience that moment. And what do you do with it? You miss it all the time. You miss it all the time. Why? Because you're busy doing your mind. You're busy and distracted by your mind and your emotions and by what you want and what you don't want. So you're not willing to experience reality. It's called be here now. You've heard that. That's what be here now is. I am present doing my job. What's your job? Experiencing the moment. Interacting with the moment. Since you're the only one that has ever experienced that moment and will ever experience it, you got a job to do. Let it emanate back through your consciousness. Very great thing to understand how special you are. You're God's ambassador to the moment in front of you. There's no right or wrong or good or bad or better or worse. There's just reality unfolding and consciousness experiencing it. All right, we talked about spiritual evolution. Now we're ready. What does it mean? Going from where you are completely lost, paying full attention to your ego and building one and changing it, and then desiring, building your desires, your hopes, and your dreams, your concepts, your views, your opinions, being one of these things called a human. And doing that human thing, don't you? All right? And then trying to make the world and everybody in it be the way you want them to be. Anybody seen that lately? Is anybody out there trying to make the world be the way they want it to be? Okay? And so it's just, wow. That's a human. All of us are humans. What is a human? God's consciousness staring at a pattern of thoughts called the ego, which are made out of your past experiences, and then looking down into a world that you want to be the way your mind decided you want it to be. Is that what's happening with everybody? You decided based on your past experiences. You have a mind saying, he shouldn't have done that. He should have done that. I don't like that. I want this. Why did he do that? Why did it have to rain on my birthday? Right? That's what your mind does. It has experiences. It stores them. Some of it like it and it doesn't like, and expects the world outside to match what you want. Have you noticed it doesn't? Which one of you noticed the world does not naturally be the way you want it to be all the time? Okay, so what do? You fight with it. And you're not any different than the rest of them. You just don't have the power they do. You fight with it. You believe it should be the way you want. You go out there manipulating, yelling, screaming, carry on, or look really handsome or pretty to attract people, or use a gun, or I don't care. You try to manipulate the world in front of you so it be the way you want. And you think it should be that way, don't you? Well, so does everybody else. Everybody else thinks it should be the way they want too. That's human plight, isn't it? Okay? So basically, what is evolution? That's you devolved, right, by getting low. You fell from the garden, and you fell into your thoughts, you fell into your emotion. They work by the sweat of your brow to be okay. All right. Spiritual evolution is you understand what we talked about today. That's not who you are. It's what you're staring at. And you identified with it, and you're lost. It's no different than a drug addict. They're completely addicted and lost in their heroin. They can't stop it. They say, but you're not okay. Give me some heroin, I'll be okay. And they believe that. All right? And so you're doing that with, give me what I want, I'll be okay. Give me what my mind decided it wanted, I'll be fine. Don't ever have happen what I don't want, I'll be fine. And then you devote your life to trying to get your heroin. Excuse me, your addiction. You devote your life to your ego, right or wrong. You devote your life to the thing inside of you that's telling you what it wants and what it doesn't want and how to get it and how to avoid it. So you get to the point where you understand getting what I want is really no great thing. I've never got what I wanted and never wanted anything ever again. I always just wanted something else the minute I got what I wanted. Or I'm afraid of losing it, or I want more, or it wasn't much fun the second time, ever. Law of diminishing returns. And so I'm just chasing my tail like that hamster running around that little cage. He ain't getting anywhere. Have you noticed how happy everybody is that's rich and powerful? They don't have any problems, do they? All right? It's not about winning. There's no winning like that. It's not about winning or losing. It's about understanding that what went wrong is you're the consciousness, the divine consciousness, the universal consciousness, staring down at this one human being, which is wonderful, Adam, Eve, you, I don't care what your name is, all right, staring down at it and enjoying and looking at trees and butterflies and snakes and nice people and mean people and war and peace and just everything that creates. Just looking at creation, experiencing creation. You didn't make it. The divine force created everything. And you just get to that point, but you're not there. So spiritual evolution is how close are you to there? Are there stages in between? I always tell you, it's not a leap to heaven. It's called a stairway to heaven. It's a stairway. So you catch on. You sit there and say, wait a minute. I don't really have to have that. I'm causing myself trouble because the colors. I know somebody who redid their kitchen 5 or 6 times because the color wasn't exactly what she thought she wanted it to be until she looked at it, and then she had it completely repainted over again numerous times. Don't blush. It doesn't take much for things not to be the way you want. And God forbid you have the finance or power to keep trying, just get ulcers, and so will everybody around you. It is not about getting what you want. It's about not identifying with the part of you that built this preference system that says I won't be okay unless everybody's the way I want them to be, which means you won't be okay. And you'll worry and you'll feel anxiety. Okay? So it's about waking up and you start noticing, wait a minute, I am noticing my mind. I am not my mind. I am noticing my emotions. I am not my emotions. I am noticing my body. I am not my body. If I'm getting older and I get a gray hair, I don't have to freak out. It's kind of nice. I'm serious. What are you worried about? Why are you worried about getting older? Well, I won't be as attractive, or I may not be as smart, or I might do this, or I might do that. So what? I might die. You will. So seriously, what are you doing building a self-concept that completely ignores reality. Why don't you just enjoy getting old? Why don't you just enjoy thinking you're going to die someday? Why would you enjoy thinking you're going to die someday? Because you don't know what happens after death. Not one of you know what happens after death. You can believe what you want or have your near-death experience. Not one of you know what happens after death. Guess what you're going to find out? What happens? The mystery of all mysteries. How can you not say, fine, that I get to know that? Okay, we'll get to know that, right? But it might be difficult. Go travel on a safari. It's difficult too. You do all kinds of things that are difficult because they're fun. You do extreme sports. Just know that you're going to die. I don't do seminars. I don't, all right? Because you would not want to take one. Because I would have you sit there and for maybe the first 2 days say, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And you'll go from, to, yeah, you're going to die. Okay, very good. All right? I'm not going to get what I want. I'm not going to get what I want. I'm not going to, okay, I'm not going to get what I want. Right? It's just, come on, man. Then you have much more fun. If you're not looking out there saying, I'm only okay if I get what I want, you can be okay all the time. Who decided what you want? You did. If you're smart, and I'm not kidding you, I do it. You'll decide you want what is. You win. It's so easy. I asked you once, have you ever changed your mind? Let's say you don't think the color is exactly what you want, and then your boyfriend or girlfriend comes in and says, oh, I love that. It's perfect. And all of a sudden you like it, right? Okay. So just what happened? You didn't look how cheap it was. You have to hire and paint. Just all you did was change your opinion. Opinions are nothing. They're nothing. You just made them up. So just like what is. What a smart thing to do. This is spiritual evolution. You're letting go of yourself. Little by little, you're letting go. And what will happen is you'll be happier than you used to be. And there'll be more energy pulling you up. You'll start feeling Shakti flow. It starts pulling you up and pulling you up. And eventually you'll think, this is nice. This is better than getting what I want. This is always being happy. It's called unconditional well-being as opposed to conditional well-being. Conditions have to be right for you to be okay. Now there's no conditions. Unconditional love. What's that? Love that never stops. But what if he says something I don't like? Love that never stops. Love that never stops. Love that can't go away. Why? It's not conditioned on anything. It's your natural state. Okay? That's spiritual evolution, is moving in that direction, however you want to do it. I'm not into teaching you techniques and all this stuff. I do. The books, some people say you don't teach techniques. Oh, yes, I do. I teach the ultimate technique. What? Let go. When it's all said and done, are you willing to let go of that garbage you stored in there? Because if you won't let go of that garbage, I'm telling you, they write me from all over the world. I get so many emails, right? And 60, 70% of every email we get is a thank you. Thank you. I feel this energy rushing up inside of me. I used to fight with my husband all the time. We don't fight anymore. And I feel this Shakti rushing up inside of me. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. You let go enough to feel the upward movement of the energy. It doesn't stay all the time for you, fine, right? But once you start tasting that, unconditional well-being, unconditional love, unconditional freedom, and the world can't take it away from you. And then you start realizing you're evolving spiritually. You're evolving inside instead of outside. All right? So basically, that's what I wanted to talk about. And the beauty of it is, no matter how high you can get, there's higher. Wow. So people say, what's the meaning of life? I just told it to you. The meaning of life is enlightenment. The meaning of life is self-realization. Is realizing who's in there and taking that journey home. And it's always there for you. And every second of your life is an opportunity to let go and to grow. It's the most exciting thing that could ever be, right? How can you call it renunciation? It's getting everything. But you have to go through what you need to do to be able to let go of yourself. To die to be reborn. Did Christ say that? You must die to be reborn. What does that mean? You must die of the personal to be born in the spiritual. All right. Evolve. Evolve. Jagradav.
You've been listening to the Michael Singer Podcast, produced by Sounds True in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information on Michael's body of work and all back episodes, please join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening. Sounds True, waking up the world.